Hello everyone, I am here, I'll be right with you. I'm just heating up some of these vessels here. Just a second, everybody. I'm just setting everything up. Okay, so you're probably hearing some of the music right now. I have a new package of digestives that I'm opening. Sorry I'm late, I'm just like, time really got away from me, you know? Like I was finishing up making the sandwich and stuff, and I didn't even realize what time it was. Oh my gosh. These digestives are destroyed. Jeez. Well, these two are usable. Wow, those digestives are just destroyed. I don't care what he does, yesterday I also made a fresh batch of Scottish shortbread. So, setting that down now. Alright, I think that's good. Everything looks fine. Let me get a camera here. Move that a little bit back. Alright. Let me switch to my channel. So first of all, hello everybody. Glad to have you all back. And for those who missed the last live stream, you can see my trains are functioning. And this is the passenger train, so I got the couplers fixed on that. Let's see who is here. Hello, Tyler. Tyler says, "Hi, Alex. How are you doing today? Your Queen Mary video is the best I have ever seen. I have binged your Queen Mary videos, and I've watched all the last 2, soon to be 3, and have watched your virtual tour 5 times. The last time was thrilling and inspiring, and I went and bought a Queen Mary manual for the Queen Mary manual for my Kindle. Can't wait to read it." Oh yeah, I have that one. I've gotten through the first 2 chapters, but I've been really busy. But I've been trying to catch up on that one. It's really good. Ken says, "Hey Alex, I bought a Queen Mary Queen of Queens book on eBay, and for a really great price. It also came with a vintage Queen Mary brochure and postcards." Oh wow, that's pretty cool. Disney fan says, continuing daily Disney conservation. You said that views matter because it can kill a channel. Are you saying that the views on your channel can get you terminated? It doesn't like cancel the channel. Is this full? Oh, it is. Yeah. It doesn't like cancel the channel. Like what it does is if a video doesn't get very many views, the algorithm which dictates how YouTube promotes the channel will realize, oh, no one's watching this channel, it's not very popular. It will stop promoting other videos of mine. So that's why sometimes when a YouTuber suddenly starts posting like really popular videos, all of a sudden their other videos will start getting recommended to you, and that's because the YouTube algorithm recognizes that that person's videos are getting your attention. So when you post videos that aren't getting much popularity, YouTube will actually start not promoting your other videos. It's really weird how it works. It's not really fair either, but that's kind of how it works. So if I publish Disney-themed videos, not enough people watch them, the YouTube algorithm assumes that nobody's watching and then just doesn't promote them anymore, which can kill the channel. It happened in 2020. 2020 was the worst year for my whole channel. It nearly completely died. There was almost no views left. Nobody was watching anything, except for my very core viewers were watching. But even then, they weren't getting notifications. I remember throughout 2020, I was talking to a lot of viewers because nobody was getting notifications for any of my videos in that year. And it was all because my Disney videos weren't popular, so it wasn't promoting the channel very much. It wasn't even sending out notifications. So a lot of people were like, "Oh, I didn't even know you were posting." There's still people who like will tune into my channel like now, and they'll be like, "Oh, you're back," and I'm like, "I never left. Like I'm, like I'm still here, But that's because YouTube doesn't tell them, because they were here for certain content. The content wasn't popular, so YouTube didn't promote it. It's really not fair. Hello, Mike. Hello, Thomas. Hello, Luke. Hello, Octarian. Let's see. Hello, Mark. Good afternoon / morning from Australia. On my way to the Queen's room to join you. Awesome. Hello, Alan. Hello, Ryan. Hello, Levin. I'm hope that's how you pronounce your first name, Levin. Let's see. Element of Stupidity says, "I'm back from the last show." Okay, great. Chris says, "I see you added music to your streams." No, I was playing music while I was setting up, and I still had the music playing when I started the stream, and I forgot that I had the music on. But yeah, I was going to play music, but the problem is I was running out of time. Like, as you can see, I was 5 minutes late to the stream, so I didn't have time to try to set up music on my computer. I'd play the music on my phone so you guys can hear it, but I'm already like on my channel on my phone, so it won't let me play music. Let's see. So yeah, I'm like really happy because I was able to get the trains operating and stuff. So now both trains are running perfectly fine. I filmed the video of me replacing the couplers on this whole passenger train because there was only 2 cars that had broken couplers, and so I replaced those cars, and I'm like, well, now none of the couplers look like they match. So I was like, I might as well replace all the couplers on this train so they all match. And the ones I replaced them with are more realistic looking, so at least that's a plus, you know. Okay, so get that boiling again. And then I will dump this out. Sounds like it's like the train is doing something when it crosses that switch over there. What is that noise? It almost sounds like it's running over like a piece of plastic or something. Fill the kettle. Cool. Okay, and then today is Earl Grey. I love the days when I do Earl Grey, because it's my favorite of these teas. Yeah, let's hope it doesn't fit. Okay, let's not drop the chain in here again. That was like my worst nightmare. Oh well, I'm not gonna fuss with that right now. Okay. Oh, well, I have everything done. I almost didn't get the cucumber sandwiches done today because of the fact that so it still made that noise again. I think it's the track. I think the track is making the noise. Yeah, so I placed an order for, you know, some new fresh vegetables and stuff, and the person got everything in my order and then delivered it to somebody else's house, and he delivered me pet food. Like, I don't have a pet. So I was like, what am I going to do with this? And they can't come pick it up because it's, by that point, like, they consider it like ruined, you know, like it's already been delivered, you can't pick it up again. So I have like this extra pet food, and my sister is gonna determine if she could use it. If not, I think she'll just donate it across the street, because across the street is like a pet shelter, so she might donate it to them. Yeah. So, oh, I didn't check what time to. Okay, I probably put it in 4:15, so we'll say. Wow, my tea will be ready to drink at 4:20 p.m. on today, April 20th. I did not plan it out that way. Okay, let's see. Who else is here? Oh, I think I need to refresh the chat. Let me see here. All right. Scroll back up here. Mark says, oh, shame about the McVitties. The broken ones don't count as intake. I know, right? And these are so, like, they're covered in the powder of the broken biscuits. So it's, like, it's sad because I think both packages I received are like that. The ends of them were crushed. Every time I receive McVitties, they usually put them in, like, a cardboard box or something. But this time I received them in a bag. And the half of them in each package are crushed, which crushes my soul. Kraken says, sweet train, thanks. I love this train set. Let's see. Derpy says, tuning in from Vermont, very far from my normal home. Hopefully everything's going good for you. It is. How's it going for you? Octarian says, hey Alex, have you ever heard of the City View Center? City View Center. No. Of Portland, where I live? Let's see. Did you know that YouTube has a way to censor too much popular videos? Like how? Like, in what way? Hello, Jet. Hello, RMS Queen Mary. RMS Queen Mary says, does SS United States still have the blue ribbon? Yes, she does. She's still the last ocean liner to hold the blue ribbon. Let's see. Jeffrey says, Chris, you were in a flashback video Fresh Bake posted this week. I'm like, from like 5 years ago. Yeah, Chris used to appear in a lot of their videos. Well, not a lot. He used to appear in some of their videos. Let's see. Bill says, please eat the sandwiches first. Afternoon tea etiquette is to eat the sandwiches first, then the scones, then the pastries. I see, okay. Well, actually, I will eat these first anyway because I prepared them first, and I don't want them to get stale, and I always accidentally make them get stale. But first I must prepare the tea, which is about now. Ha. Okay. Try not to burn myself with the lid. Give that a quick stir. I want every last drop of this tea in there, because yeah, these teas are so good. I know some people that have switched to drinking tea instead of coffee because they found out that I've been drinking it, and they're like, oh, that's a good idea, you know? So even I'm helping to inspire people I know. It sounds like the train is running over a piece of plastic, but I know there's no plastic there. I checked all the rails before I began, but it only happens at that corner, and I'm thinking it's because the track is not fully glued down in that particular section, and whenever the train rolls over it, the track bends. That's what I think is going on. Okay, dump out this hot water. And pour the tea. Place that there. It's not in the way, is it? Yeah, it's kind of in the way. Eh. Oh, I know. I always move it over here. That's why. I try to memorize where I keep certain items on the table so that way it doesn't block views of the other items. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so sugar. Oh, stir first. And a little bit of cream. Tad bit more. Didn't mean to do that. Accidentally snapped the spoon against the thing, but okay. Alright, so sandwiches first, that's for sure. Alan says Earl Grey is one of my favorites as well. Also, Lapsang Souchong. Oh, I've never heard of that one. I know one of the teas I used to like a little bit. I don't like it as much as I like Earl Grey, but I used to really like Pu'er tea. That was really good. Let's Build says, besides Cunard, what is your favorite ocean liner company? I would say next to Cunard, it would be White Star Line. Yeah, White Star Line. Levin says, you said my name correctly, so no problem. I'm from Kartvili Respublika. Also known as the Georgian Republic. Okay. Oh boy. I didn't have a chance to freeze these before I cut them up. So now they're just falling apart. Captain Foxy Pirate is playing Roblox. Awesome. Tyler says, hey, I saw what happened to the Sullivans. I thought Navy ships were built better than that. What grade did Queen Mary from her last inspection? What grade? Like I don't know if they grade ships. Maybe they do, I don't know, but I don't know if they grade ships, so I don't know, but she hasn't been officially dry dock inspected yet, the Queen Mary. So the last time she was dry dock inspected was in 1969. She has been inspected underwater, which was last year. And but that wasn't like an official inspection. That was more like just to see what they might expect to have to do. You know what I mean? And she was in relatively good shape. She just basically needs the same old like cleaning of the hull, repainting it. From there, they'll do a more extensive inspection of the Queen Mary's hull. But they ultrasounded her hull underwater, and they didn't see any problems to report. But Sullivan's, I think it's not because the ship was in bad shape necessarily. It's because of the climate that the ship was in. It gets winters where the lake freezes over. Where the Sullivan's is, the lake freezes over. And ice is a very bad thing for ships, especially when a ship is sitting in the water. Because when it's sitting in the water, the ice will expand around the ship, pushing in on the hull plates. And that can create a puncture. Especially if the ice breaks apart, it'll create small micro punctures. And eventually that can wear down a ship's hull. And especially because it's constantly in the water. So what probably happened with the Sullivans was it probably had those little micro punctures, and then while it was sitting there in its water, the water just eventually kind of ate away at a piece of it, and that just caused a hole to form. So that's what I think happened. But it was days from going into dry dock, actually. Oh, Derpy left. Oh, okay. Alan says, every time I order baked treats from the UK, they arrive destroyed. I gave up. Yeah, same thing happens here. That's why I make the Scottish shortbread here. Well, also because it's cheaper to make it. Made this batch last night of the Scottish shortbread. I would make, English scones, but it is a bit much to make the scones and to make the clotted cream. It's a bit much. I just don't feel up to it, Octarian says, Alex, City View Center is in Garfield Heights, Ohio. Okay, I have no idea what that is. Is it like a lookout point where you can see downtown? RMS Queen Mary says, can the Queen Mary 2 get the blue ribbon? No. Unfortunately, the Queen Mary 2 is not fast enough. The Queen Mary 2 has a max speed of probably closer to 31 knots, but it would have to beat the record that SS United States set. And the SS United States had an average speed of around 38. No. Was it 38? 38 knots, I believe, was the average speed the SS United States had while she was crossing the Atlantic on her blue ribbon crossing. So Queen Mary 2 can't match that speed, can't beat that record. Katie says, going on a princess cruise to Alaska in June for my birthday. I'm looking forward to their daily afternoon tea. Oh, nice. Yeah, I want to experience like a real British afternoon tea service, you know? That'd be really cool. Matthew says, do you think another ship will take the blue ribbon in the future? I think it's possible. And the reason why is because I know a few times I've said that that I think eventually the airline industry will become so busy and so overcrowded that people will just have enough of it. They'll just, you know, people who are traveling long distances in a more leisurely period of time will probably opt to take an ocean liner, which is probably how ocean liners may come back, is in the form of long distance travel for people who are not in a hurry. And that may be how they come back. And if they do, then those ocean liners are going to need to be in a hurry. So it's possible that one day, if that's how ocean liners come back, they may try to build an ocean liner that will beat the speed of the SS United States, especially if you're going to faraway places, you know, like farther away than just, you know, across the Atlantic, but, you know, or I mean, farther away than from New York to UK. Probably if you're going from, I don't know, from the US to Australia or something, then maybe they'll invent a really fast ocean liner that will beat the speed of SS United States just to make a decent time. But of course, that's way in the future. I don't foresee the airline industry becoming overcrowded for at least another 10 years. I mean, it already is overcrowded to a certain extent, but I think they have the ability to keep on expanding for another 10 years, unfortunately. So I may not see it till I'm, like, you know, middle-aged. Let's see. Tyler says, on this day in 1912, SS France made her maiden voyage. She was the Chateau of the Atlantic. Yeah, beautiful ship. The original SS France was a beautiful ship. Gabe says, what did you think when Queen Mary 2 was built alongside her sister ship, Queen Elizabeth and Queen Victoria? Well, I don't... When I was a kid, like... That had happened when I was a kid, and I wasn't into ocean liners back then, so I didn't really think anything of it. I'm not even sure I really even knew what the Queen Mary 2 was, to be honest. I had heard of it, but I had thought it was just another cruise ship. Like, I wasn't into ships back then. I wasn't into ships until maybe 2 years ago. So, but if I were to, you know, consider it now, it's pretty funny that that the Queen Mary 2 was built as an ocean liner, but the other two ships were just built as cruise ships. It's kind of ironic how things turned out that way. Levin says, Tyler Frederick, didn't CGT have SS France in the 1960s? Actually, the original SS France was from 1912. There was more than just one SS France. I think there were two. The original was 1912, and then the next one was in the 1960s. 1969, I think? Katie says, I like my tea without cream and sugar. You know, I can drink the Earl Grey without cream. Sugar helps, but I can drink it without cream. I just prefer it with cream. And that's because I'm a coffee person, you know? Like, I came from growing up with coffee and having coffee with cream and sugar. So now I don't drink coffee anymore because now that I'm getting older, it just doesn't affect me the same way. Like it doesn't feel good when I drink coffee. So I've switched to tea because it has less caffeine. So I prefer it that way. Suede says, where are you living at? I'm in Portland. Let's see. Happy weekend to you too, Captain Foxy. Hello, Keith. Hello, Evan. Octarian says, Alex, City View Center is a failed shopping center. Okay. That's pretty random. Carl says, hi, Alex. The next video for the lost cargo holds looks cool. Can't wait. Thanks. Yeah, it'll be a great live stream. Me and Steve are going to work together to put together a nice presentation for you guys like we did last Saturday. Chris says, I was in a Fresh Baked video? That's odd. That's not odd. You used to hang out with them, in a way. And so you're in a few of their videos, like maybe 2 or 3 videos. RMS Queen Mary says, do the American ships go to Southampton? Ships from all over the world used to and still also reach Southampton. Jet Lincoln says, SSUS has a classified top speed even to this day. Oh, Evan asks, why is second class all messed up for the Queen Mary? Because when the Queen Mary was brought to Long Beach and they were converting her to a hotel, they were considering what people would like as a hotel more. You have to remember, back then, ocean liners were going out of existence, essentially, but people still had them fresh in their memories. People wouldn't have been oohed and awed by seeing Queen Mary's second and third class spaces. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. Back then in the early 1970s, people would not have been, mesmerized by the second and third class spaces on Queen Mary because people were still used to the idea of ocean liners. Ocean liners had only just recently started retiring. And so back then it was just seen as less fancy spaces. People would have rather see the third class spaces. The first class spaces. And so what they did was they preserved a lot of the first class staterooms. But yeah, the second and third class staterooms, they suffered. Third class was entirely removed. A lot of second class was redone, and a lot of it was also removed. But again, that's because in the 1970s, they didn't think anybody would be interested in seeing those spaces, because it's just like asking, do you guys want to go with me to, a low class like roadside motel? Most people would be like, no, why would you ask? So it's the same thing with the Queen Mary. People would not have wanted to see that back then, but today, now that most ocean liners from that era is completely gone, now today that is fascinating. People do want to see that stuff, and unfortunately it doesn't exist, Matthew says there's a new SS France being built, and it looks very weird. Yeah, I imagine. Well, Goofy rolls. Actually, if the wind is too much for the passengers to take, they just don't go up on deck. You know, an ocean liner doesn't have to be limited by the amount of wind there is, because they have plenty of interior spaces. So, I mean, that'd be the same thing if, you know, if a hurricane blew through, you can't blame the ocean liner because of the weather, you know. And sometimes there's a tailwind. So even though you're going, let's say, 38 knots like the SS United States, if you have a tailwind, the air might feel still to you. It might not feel at all blustery. So, so yeah, wind doesn't necessarily affect how fast the speed limit is set for an ocean liner. Carl says the curved hull must take of cargo space. Do they have alternative? The cargo holds in the Queen Mary are 4 decks high. So there's literally 4 decks. Maybe, I think in some areas 5 decks of cargo space. So the picture that I showed in my thumbnail is only the bottom level. The level that they probably wouldn't have used much. So there are 4 other levels above that. So they had plenty of space. Gabe says, Alex, would it be possible, since Titanic 2 was built, would have a Olympic 2 and Britannic 2, since it would make sense since it was building in progress and I would sail on them? I don't think so, because Titanic 2 isn't being built out of necessity. It's not even being built anyway. It's canceled. But Titanic 2 wasn't being built out of necessity. It was only being built to honor Titanic. Now, Olympic and Britannic and Titanic, the 3 were built originally, or supposed to be built because of the fact that they needed to get a certain number of people across the ocean within a week. So that's why they had 3 ships. It wasn't just because they felt like building 3 ships. So therefore, there would be no Olympic 2, no Britannic 2 in terms of, you know, the Titanic 2, because they don't need to get people across the ocean. It's just a lonely ship. Plus, the Titanic 2 would have never made any money anyway. It would have been way too expensive, and eventually it would have lost a whole bunch of profits. It was a nightmare waiting to happen. RMS Queen Mary says, what was the largest ship lost in World War II? I don't know. Octarian says, what if ocean liners stayed? I suppose then I don't know, because that depends on the scenario. You know, like, you'd have to explain why they stayed. And if I don't know why they stayed, then I can't imagine a scenario. All I can imagine is that we'd probably still, you know, probably all of us would be very happy. You know, we'd probably all be sailing on ocean liners. I don't know. But, you're welcome, Evan. Yeah, Mikey, you're right. It wasn't just because of interest. But I think that if there was interest, it would have played a part in them keeping it. But you're right. The second and third class spaces didn't accommodate room for a modern hotel room space, which is why they kept all the first class cabins and suites. But I think because I was specifically answering that person's question, they were wondering, like, you know, I forgot the original question, but I had assumed it was about interest. I had assumed that if somebody was interested enough in second and third class spaces, I think they would have preserved something, you know. There are places on the Queen Mary where they didn't have to remove second and third class spaces because they removed it, but nothing went in its place, and they never expected it to, you know. So there are areas like that, and I think that if there was enough interest, they would have preserved at least one room of each, you know, but they didn't. They didn't preserve a single room of third class. So in terms of staterooms, but But yeah, I do think that interest would have played a part of them preserving it if there was any, you know. Let's see. Philip says the Japanese battleship Yamato was the largest ship lost in World War II. I've heard of the Yamato. I think my friend Chris was telling me about that. You know what's funny is actually that's one thing I don't think. Asks if I guess if ocean liners stayed, we could have Olympic with us right now. I think that's actually the opposite of what would happen. If we still had ocean liners with us, we wouldn't think that any of them were that precious. So I think that if we still had ocean liners with us, the Queen Mary would not be with us. And neither would Olympic or, you know, or anything, you know, nothing. I think the reason why is because people don't miss what they already have. So if we were still using steam as railroads, for instance, we wouldn't have as many steam heritage railroads. Because people would just be like, oh, well, that's just an old steam engine, you know? So that's part of the reason why a lot of old classic cars are not preserved, you know? Because back then, when they were produced, they were just another car on the lineup, you know? It was only by happenstance that there were lots of people who still owned classic cars and other people who came in and bought them from them because they had an interest. But because ocean liners, there was far less ocean liners in the world than there were cars, but ocean liners are harder to take care of. And so I think people wouldn't be preserving ocean liners if we still had them, basically, because they would just be seen as an antiquated ocean liner, you know? Mr. Rando says, would you ever do a video on your top 10 ocean liners? Yeah, I actually I plan to eventually. Yeah. Carl says, Titanic had a squash court besides the pool. Did Queen Mary have other sports spaces? Oh, yeah. A lot of sports spaces. So Queen Mary had a squash court as well. Queen Mary had plenty of tennis courts, shuffleboard spaces, and let me think. Queen Mary had a gymnasium for first and second class. Off the top of my head, that's all I can think of. But there was a lot of spaces up on top. That's why they called it the sports deck. Because on the Queen Mary, the topmost deck was all for sports and games and, you know, and activities. So, yeah, Queen Mary had a lot of deck games. More than Titanic, for sure. Because I think Queen Mary just needed it, you know. Miss M. Brock 26 says, what does the Queen Mary look like below the waterline? Well, I'm not really sure what you mean. I don't know if you want me to literally describe for you what the underside of a Queen Mary's hull looks like. I'd rather show you a picture, but I can't show you a picture right now because I'm doing like this live stream. But you can Google like models of the Queen Mary and stuff like that, and you can see the underside of her hull that way. And there's also paintings depicting the underside of the Queen Mary's hull and all that, so you can see that in paintings and stuff. Beluga says, hey Alex, is that a painting of a British narrow gauge steam engine, the one in the background? No, actually that is there's two paintings there. Both of them are Disneyland Railroad narrow gauge steam engines. and the ones from in Anaheim, California. Mikey says, heard an interesting point that there was an interest in saving the Olympic before it was scrapped. I wonder if Olympic was saved as a museum, would we have a Queen Mary today? Yeah, I don't know. I think we would, because Queen Mary wasn't just saved just because she was an ocean liner, but also because of her very specific fame. The Queen Mary, when she retired, was the world's most famous ocean liner, more than Titanic. Yeah, that's why she was saved. So I think definitely Queen Mary would have still been preserved. RMS Queen Mary says, was Olympic HMS or HMT? During the war, Olympic was HMT? Yeah, HMT, I think, during the war. But Olympic was RMS otherwise. Hello, Sarah. How you doing? Dinah says, where do I get passenger lists for 1940s and 50s? You can look them up on eBay. So some people are actually selling passenger lists on eBay. Gabe says, I would like to buy the Queen Mary and the SS United States since they are beautiful ships. But it would take a long time to do that since I'm only 17. Yeah. I wish I could buy them too and I'd restore them, But, yeah. I wish I was as rich as Elon Musk. Then I'd use my money for the forces of good. Yeah. The little engine I have that's pulling the passenger train right now it's a strong little engine. Because let me tell you, the freight train over there weighs less than the 4 passenger cars this train is pulling. And it amazes me every time I see that little engine pulling it. Strasburg says, see, you got the train up and running. I might go after a while because I got to play my clarinet and make my tea. I see. Okay. Yeah, I was able to get the whole layout running. Last night I was looking at supplies for building a water tower because I'm going to build the water tower out of wood, but I don't have the right spout and everything, all the hardware that goes on a water tower. So I might have to look into buying the stuff that you put on a water tower. Octarian says, what would happen if Titanic sank in the same depth and spot as Britannic? Would it still have broken half? I think so, because Britannic didn't hit the bottom until most of the ship was already underwater. So, because I believe the water where Britannic sank is 400 feet deep. and the ship was 882 feet long. So I do think that Britannic hit the bottom only when the last bits of it were still in the water. Titanic, it broke apart when only half of it was underwater. And that's, well, I mean, you know what I'm saying by half. I don't want people to be like, oh, it wasn't really half, but you know what I'm saying. So Titanic sank, you know, basically with most of the ship still out of the water, and it broke in half, and yeah, so I think Titanic still would have broken half. It was about the way it sank rather than the depth. So oh wow, Carl says, so back then smoking was only permitted in smoking rooms? Not only smoking rooms, but you couldn't just smoke anywhere. There were certain places where it was appropriate and certain places where it was inappropriate. So the smoking rooms were designed so you could smoke in there. But there were certain rooms where you could smoke. I just don't know all of them. I know some of them. Like, I know you could smoke in the first class main lounge. I know you could smoke in the observation bar. You could smoke in the observation bar. So there were places. I just don't know all of them. I know that there were other places you could smoke, but it wasn't permitted just anywhere. If you walked into a room and you saw ashtrays on the tables, you'd know you could smoke there, you know. So RMS Queen Mary says a girl on TikTok says the Olympics sank. The title says the three sisters that sank, and her account was not even related to ships. It's weird. The three sisters that sank. Well, Olympic didn't sink. That's weird. But yeah, you know, there's a lot of people who don't do their research and they just make content about it anyway. So, James says, hi Alex, how are you? I'm good. How are you doing, James? I see you like Twinings tea also, with the tin there next to the kettle. Do you have a favorite flavor of tea? Yes. Earl Grey, which is the one we're having today. I have the different Twinings teas, so I have Earl Grey, English breakfast, and Irish breakfast, and I kind of rotate between those on different live streams. But I always look forward to the days when I do Earl Grey because it's my favorite one. Let's see. Matthew says, what's left of Queen Mary's second and third class public rooms? Well, that one's easier to answer. So a lot of the public rooms are still there. So third class, it still has the third class garden lounge is still around. The third class main lounge has mostly been gutted, but it's still somewhat there. There is still the third class smoking room is partially still there. Let's see. The third class nursery is empty. They use it as a storage closet. Same thing with the what do you call it? The synagogue was also a third class space. That is empty, and they use it as storage. So it's doesn't have its original furniture. The third class main stairwell is still there. You can still use it to this day. Third class elevator is still there, but it's used by housekeeping. In second class, the second class library is technically still there, but it's in need of a little bit of restoration. You can't visit it. It's behind a door now, But the funny thing is that the second class library could easily be brought back. It's almost everything is still there. It just needs books, and it needs a recreation of its table. I think its table still exists, actually. So it's just not in that room. But yeah, the second class library is like, you could spend maybe $2,000 to refurbish it and bring it back to its original glory. I kid you not, that's how close it is. And QMI wanted to donate money towards that, but the city of Long Beach never responded to them, so neither did previous leaseholders. So, you know, but yeah, as for, so second class, the second class main lounge is still there and mostly intact. They use it as a banqueting space. Second class smoking room is also still there, but they use it as a chapel, a wedding chapel. So if you go up on promenade deck and you see the wedding chapel there, that used to be the second class smoking room. And a lot of it is still there. A lot of it is still intact. It's just that they added church pews everywhere. The second class overflow lounge eventually became the Beachcombers Lounge, which eventually became the Capstan Lounge. It remains today as the Capstan Lounge. None of its interiors are any original any longer, but the space is still there. The second class swimming pool has been removed. The second class dining room has been partitioned off, and only parts of it still exist. It's been completely turned into refrigeration and storage spaces. Yeah. The second class elevators are all still there. Just some of them are not in use. The main stairwells for second class are still there, just not in use. That's all I can think of at the moment. Mikey says, I've always wondered where that large safe located in the lobby of our deck at the bottom of the stairs was from. Is it original to the Queen Mary? No. The safe that at the bottom of the third class stairs is from a movie called, oh geez, Steve told it to me the other day. What is it called? I don't know. It's some kind of heist movie where they were stealing money off the Queen Mary. It was some kind of heist movie. And so that's what it's from. It's a prop. And they used to have prop gold bars inside of it. But the gold bars have since been removed. But that safe is it's a movie prop. Tyler says, all this talk of smoking is making me think of the song Smoking in the Boys' Room. Let's see. See you later, Let's Build. Thanks for joining. Is Queen Mary's hull below the waterline rusted today? I can't find any images on Google. The hull below the waterline, it might be a little bit rusted. It's not that bad, though. It's not like it's completely corroded away. There's no images of the hull underwater online. I mean, there is one, but I can't point you to it because I had to pull it from the City of Long Beach's website. But essentially, it's basically covered in barnacles and algae, and you can't really see the hull itself. It's just covered in algae. So you can't really tell it's even a ship's hull. You can't see what the surface looks like. In fact, I'm pretty sure the barnacles and algae are probably what's preventing it from rusting away entirely. But of course it does have the zinc plates. The zinc plates help with the corrosion. So the zinc plates prevent the corrosion from hurting the ship too much. But the hull it's not pretty looking, but it's not in bad shape. So I just want to put that out there. It's not pretty looking, but it's not in bad shape. It's actually in very good shape considering the conditions of the water and considering how long it's been since the ship has had a dry dock. So, yeah. Crittenden asks, do you think RMS Olympic could have become a hotel like Queen Mary? I think so. I think it would have made a really nice hotel. It wouldn't have been like the accommodations we expect today. Most certainly, people probably today would not be that happy staying on Olympic. Only like ocean liner fans would enjoy it. But I do think it could have become a hotel. But the problem with that is they would have had to like do what they did to Queen Mary and break down some walls to expand the rooms and make them larger. Because yeah, that was a problem with Queen Mary. Was even Queen Mary's rooms were huge for the standards of its day, but as a hotel, it wasn't big enough. M. Brocky says, can you go into the funnels of the Queen Mary? In drone shots, you can see a ladder in the third funnel. That's for maintenance only. People aren't allowed in the funnels of the Queen Mary. Gabe Wilson says, would it be possible if they made Olympic 2 instead of Titanic 2? I'd sail on her if they built it. I mean, anything's possible if you have enough money, but I mean, frankly, it's in terms of feasibility, is it feasible to build an Olympic 2? Not really. It wasn't even feasible to build a Titanic 2, which is why it was canceled. Tyler says, Assault on the Queen. That's right. Assault on the Queen was the movie. That's the heist movie where the safe on Queen Mary's third-class staircase came from. Assault on the Queen. I'll have to see that. Matthew says, would putting the Queen Mary in dry dock damage her? No. I mean, there's always the chance that a small hole could be punctured. You know, if like a certain plate maybe was a little bit thin. They don't believe there's any plates that will be punctured if they put her in a dry dock. But if there was, that's what the dry dock is for. If they puncture something, they can just go in there and replace the plate. But no, the Queen Mary's whole frame and everything, all the support frames are very strong, even after all these years. So they're not worried about, like, even I'm not worried. I'm not worried about the Queen Mary having any major issues being in dry dock. But it wouldn't surprise me if maybe the hull might get a little bit punctured in one or two areas, depending on the thickness of the plates in those areas. But that can easily be fixed with new hull plates. So, you know, it wouldn't be too hard, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, the Queen Mary is in very good shape considering her condition. Even when she retired from service and they dry docked her to take a look at her hull and see what condition it was, the Navy admiral that was looking at it, he just looked up and he says, never in all my years have I seen a ship this old have a hull look this nice. You know, and so it impressed him even back then. RMS Queen Mary asks, if the SS Normandy raced the RMS Queen Mary 2, which one will win? That's a tough one. Because even Normandy could really only do like 29 knots, but the Queen Mary 2, even fully loaded, can do 30 knots. So it's possible that Queen Mary 2 could still beat Normandy. Let's see. Railfan Loy says, is the layout a ON30 layout? Yes, it is. It is an ON30 layout. I was really lucky getting the engines and the cars and everything, because if you've looked up ON30 stuff, it's incredibly expensive nowadays. I had started getting into ON30 right when all the major companies basically stopped producing ON30 stuff. So I had just finished acquiring all the cars and stuff, and then next thing you know, like, all the stock that people had of all these cars, no one was selling the cars anymore, and so yeah. I have a freight train here. Let me see if I can... I think that's as close as I can bring it. There, you can see there's a box car here. I have 2 box cars and 1 cattle car. And I got that when I went to a train show back when I lived in Southern California. So there was a traveling train show, and some of the older guys came and was selling off stuff that they had. And this one guy had these three freight cars, and I think he was just trying to lighten the load. They were already damaged, and I'm not the kind of person who, I look at something and I'm like, oh, it's damaged, I don't want to buy it. Like, I'm not that kind of person. Like, I saw these, I saw that their brake wheels were a little bent, you know, some of the grab irons were a little bit bent, some of the couplers needed replacing. I looked at them and I just saw a treasure. I was like, I want it, you know, and he was selling them for $10 each. So for $30, I got 3 cars. That's a big deal, because if you were to buy them brand new, these exact same cars right now are going on eBay for like $60, $65 each. So I had a really good deal. So, and then this engine that's rolling up, the Forney engine. This engine now, if you find it, which you can't anymore. Like, I've looked on eBay that no one is selling these engines right now. But this Forney engine could go for $350 on eBay if someone were to sell it right now, because they're so rare. And I found one guy who was in the UK who had one. He didn't want it anymore. I think it's because he short-circuited it, to be honest. Because when I bought it from him, he was like, oh yeah, it works perfectly fine. And I put it in, I'm like, it's not working. So I had to open it all up and figure it out, and then I found out these 2 wires inside didn't have any coating on them, so the 2 wires were touching and short-circuiting the train. So anyway, that Forney engine, I got that for $125, which was a good deal even then, a very good deal even then. But I imagine if I were to sell this right now, I could probably sell it for $350. So not that I want to sell it, because again, it's really rare, and Forney engines are my favorite engines. Narrow gauge Forney engines are my favorite. So and it's an inside frame one too, which makes it even more rare, because most of the ones that Bachmann produced were outside frame. So as you can see, I can go on and on about trains. Let's see. Mikey says, I wonder if the starship Halcyon will one day be dry docked and made into a museum in the future. That's funny. Vincent says, hey Alex, did you know the QE was in the movie The Mouse That Roared? No, I didn't know that. Crittenden says, Queen Mary was also used in a Netflix show called High Seas. Yeah, she was used for like 1 shot in the first episode. So I know, because I watched it, because everyone was telling me, Alex, it has the Queen Mary. And I'm like, oh, great. So I went to watch it with my friend Chris. And you can ask my friend Chris. We were both watching it at the same time. The show used only one photograph of the Queen Mary from a far distance. We're talking like a mile away. Showed the Queen Mary from a mile away, and it was a still photograph that they had altered with special computer graphics to make it look like the ship from the high seas. And that was it. There was no other like real images of Queen Mary used for the entire show. I thought that they filmed the show on the Queen Mary. That's what I originally thought. And as we were watching the show, we realized not a single spot on that entire ship was filmed on the Queen Mary. So, and that made sense because it's a Latin show, isn't it? Is it Portuguese? I think it is Portuguese show. So obviously they can't have the actors flying in all the time to film the show on the ship. So it made sense. But yeah, I was a little bit disappointed because most images of the ship are entirely 100% computer generated, and they look somewhat like the Queen Mary, but it's not. Yeah, so it was a little bit disappointing though. Let's see. Gabe says, when World War III happens, please don't say when. That's horrible. I don't want a World War III to happen. Let's say if World War III were to happen, would the Queen Mary and SS United States and Symphony of the Seas be used as troop ships or hospital ships or for the military? Let's see. Symphony of the Seas, I can see that happening. If they were really desperate, to transport troops and they didn't have enough ways to transport enough troops, then I could see them using cruise ships, especially the Queen Mary too. But the original RMS Queen Mary and the original SS United States, I don't think there's any other SS United States, but the original RMS Queen Mary and the original SS United States, they're too far gone to be converted back into sailing condition. It would take more money, more time, and more effort than is necessary. They could build like a new troop ship the size of the Queen Mary for less money than it would take to refurbish the Queen Mary back into a troop ship for World War III. So I don't see that ever happening. And like I said in my last live stream, it's more likely with the SS United States, it's more likely that they will scrap the SS United States during World War III to use for steel money. It wouldn't work to scrap the Queen Mary for World War III because, that's kind of complicated. But essentially, SS United States is an empty shell with almost nothing but metal left behind. So it's in better scrapping condition than ever before. So, but cruise ships, I think, in desperation would be used. But I don't think they would refurbish SS United States or Queen Mary to use as troop ships. Let's see. M. Brocky says, where do the big red vents on Queen Mary's deck go? So there are 8 massive vents on top of the Queen Mary. And it's too small to see on that picture. I can't show you. I wish I had a model so I could show you. But there are 8 large vents up there. And then lots of smaller vents. But if you're asking about the largest vents, those 8... feed air into the different boiler and engineering spaces. So it feeds into, one vent feeds into the water softening plant. The next vent goes into boiler room 1. The next vent, boiler room 2. The next vent, turbo generator room forward. The next vent is boiler room 3. Boiler room 4. Turbo generator room aft, and boiler room 5. Yeah. Did I count that right? One, what? Let's see. Oh, no. I counted that wrong because boiler room 6 would have had it. So not the water softening plant. The water softening plant had a smaller vent. But yeah, it starts from boiler rooms 1 and 2 having vents, turbo generator room, you know, boiler room 3, 4, aft turbo generator room, and boiler rooms 5 and 6 would have vents. Yeah. Wait, there's only 4 boiler rooms on Queen Mary. Let me go check my map real quick. Let me go check my map. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, there were 5 boiler rooms. 6, 7, 8. Okay. I was right the first time. There's only 5 boiler rooms on the Queen Mary. Okay, I was right the first time. There's only 5 boiler rooms on the Queen Mary. So it goes water softening plant, boiler room 1, boiler room 2, turbo generator room, boiler room 3, boiler room 4, turbo generator room, boiler room 5. So that accounts for all 8 vents. And then the boiler rooms, those evacuate the air that comes in up through the boilers and go out through the stacks. The other spaces use smaller ventilation ducts to push the air out through smaller vents on the top of the ship. And then there are other small vents on the top of the ship that specifically supply air to like large rooms, you know, that use air conditioning and stuff like that. So that's like a basics of the ventilation of the Queen Mary. I'll eventually make a video about the Queen Mary's ventilation. Let's see here. Matthew, you're right. Actually, the Normandy would win 32.2 knots. Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking in my head 29 knots, but oh, you know why? You know why, Matthew? Because you know why I said the RMS Queen Mary 2 would win over Normandy is because while Normandy's maximum speed is 32.2 knots, that's a maximum speed that was taken before it was full of passengers. So the fastest speed that SS Normandy can sustain with passengers on it during a transatlantic crossing is about 29 knots. Now the RMS Queen Mary 2, its fastest speed is 30 knots. 30.6 knots, I think it is. But the Queen Mary 2 can actually achieve pretty much that same speed, even with a bunch of passengers on, because of the way her engines are designed. They're diesel electric, and so they operate just a bit differently, and she can generate boosted power. So the Queen Mary 2 has the extra generators up on top that they can activate when they need an extra boost of power. So they can actually make up for the weight of passengers on there, believe it or not. That's why the Queen Mary 2 doesn't have a top speed of 32 knots the way the original Queen Mary did. Because the original Queen Mary, they have a extra fast speed, and then when loaded with passengers, that'll go down to 29 knots, which is their target speed. But Queen Mary 2 has the extra engines on the top of the ship, the jet engines, the gas turbines. Those can boost the power, and the Queen Mary 2 can make up for that. So that's why I say the Queen Mary 2 could technically beat Normandy, because the Queen Mary 2 can reach 30.2 knots, 30.6 knots, I'm sorry, even when fully loaded with passengers, which is pretty interesting, I think. Jeremy says, I like that train set, Alex. Thank you so much. Gosh, you know, I really don't know, Octarian, about if Oceanic 3 was built. You know, I don't know, maybe I don't have enough imagination or something. I can't picture in my head all these different scenarios of like what would happen if this ship survived or if that ship didn't, or you know, like it's fun, but I can't imagine it, you know, like I don't know. I don't know. Gabe says, "What is your favorite UK steamship besides Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth?" Besides Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth, it would be RMS Mauretania. After RMS Mauretania, it'd be RMS Lusitania. After that, it would be probably RMS Olympic, then RMS Oceanic. No, Oceanic comes before Olympic, so I'd say RMS Oceanic from 1899. And then RMS Campania. Yeah. Olympic is actually the last on my list. So if I were to like choose 5 ships that that are like British that I would, you know, that I love, those are them. And then Olympic is like last on the list. Oh, see you later, Sarah. Matthew says, how much will the Yarrow project cost and will it happen? We don't know how much it will cost because a survey has never been done for it before. A feasibility study and survey would have to be conducted. So until then, we just don't know. And as for whether it will ever be, whether it will ever happen, first, the videos I need to make need to be finished. So there's going to be 2 videos. They'll be combined into one for investors to see. So you guys will get 2 videos, but I'm going to make a combination of the 2 so investors can see it. The investors, you know, will have to send the videos to them and get them to understand it and all that stuff. So it's really way too early to say whether it will or won't happen, because we haven't even begun speaking to people yet, you know. So I don't know, you know. See you later, Crittenden. M. Brocky says, I was thinking about making a Queen Mary channel. Do you have any advice? A lot of advice, but send me an email so I can properly reply to you, because I would be here for like half an hour giving you advice. So send me an email. Ken says, there is one cruise ship I really like, the Sovereign of the Seas, which is scrapped now, but its stern was directly inspired by the Normandies. Cruise ships should at least try to look classic. I agree. Cruise ships should try to look classic. I really don't like the way most cruise ships look. The look on the outside is almost entirely utilitarian, you know, like they don't think about the lines and the way the ship looks, you know. They just think, how can we stuff it full of stuff? And then what you end up with is a giant rectangle that just, you know, bobs around in the water like a cork. And so it's just like, yeah. I really think that they should try to make cruise ships at least look, you know, like nice on the outside, you know. Yeah. Mark says, hey Alex, when you travel to the UK, I can highly recommend the Southampton Maritime Museum. There's a superb there's superb memorabilia there for Olympic class buffs. Quite a few items off Olympic and Titanic. Really, I didn't know that Southampton had a maritime museum, because my friend Chris was like, "Hey, when we go to Southampton, what can we do there?" I'm like looking on the map. I'm like, I don't see any tourist attractions. So if anybody knows what fun things can be done in Southampton, let me know. That sounds fun. I would definitely go to the Southampton Maritime Museum. Again, I had no idea they even had one. Petros King says, when is the Queen Mary going to open again to the public? They don't have an official opening date set. Right now, they're waiting to complete a bunch of projects that will make it safe to reopen the ship. But what they're trying to aim for is before Halloween, because Halloween is the season that they make the most money from the ship. So they're aiming for Halloween. We'll see if they can make it, because there are certain projects that back in early March were going to take between 130 days to 150 days. No. 180 days to 270 days. I'm sorry. I don't know what. Yeah. And so that meant most of the year. So we'll see. Like I said, they're aiming for Halloween, but when it reopens, it will only be as for like tours and stuff. I believe that the hotel portion probably won't reopen until the start of next year. So you probably won't be able to book hotel rooms and stuff till the start of next year. Mikey says, do you think all those rolled up plans of the ship are still in that room that was shown in the Sterling website? Oh yeah, absolutely. I know people who have insider knowledge of the ship, and they tell me it's still there just like that. Junior Reagan, oh my gosh, thank you so much. That's so nice of you. Gabe says, hey Alex, can you do a Olympic voyage? Her last one was in early 1935. A video on the Olympics last voyage. Okay, I think I'll put that on my list, and then I'll do some research to see what happened on that last voyage. I can't recommend that. I mean, I can't promise it's going to be the next video in the lineup, like I have a bunch of videos. I try to put out the videos in a way that makes sense, like if someone suddenly were to publish an Olympic video, then it probably wouldn't be a good idea for me to publish my Olympic video soon after. So then I might have to change things, but I will do some research on it. Mikey says, I would love to spend hours poring over the deck plans. Oh, I would too. If I was in that planning room, it's like Steve was saying. There's plans there for like even the light fixtures, like it planned out, like everything. It's like, I wonder how that came into possession on the ship. But it's there, so like anything that used to be on the ship is probably planned out on paper in that room, including carpets and everything. Like if you want to recreate the patterns that were on the carpets of the Queen Mary, you can. It's in that room. You just have to look for it. And so it's amazing. Like I would love to have access to that room and see all those different plans and stuff. Matthew says Southampton Maritime Museum has Olympics Honor and Glory clock. Oh, is that where that is? I was wondering where that's being kept. S. Karthik says, what is your favorite steam locomotive? If I had to pick a specific locomotive that exists today, or has ever existed, I would say the E.P. Ripley from the Disneyland Railroad. That's my favorite one of all. In fact, most of my favorites would be all 5 of the locomotives from the Disneyland Railroad. But after that, I don't know what make, model, or number it would be. But I love Forney engines. So probably one of the next ones would be any of the Forney engines they have on the Wiscasset, Waterville, and Farmington Railroad in Maine. I think all their Forney engines are beautiful engines. So I love those. I also love all kinds of different plantation locomotives. So, yeah. I love the smaller stuff, especially narrow gauge. So, I'm not much into the big engines. And honestly, the biggest engine that I will ever admit to liking, like actually enjoying to look at, is the Denver and Rio Grande Western number, I think it's 165. It was recently refurbished maybe a year or two ago. And it's operating on the Cumbres and Toltec Scenic Railroad right now. That one is it's either 260 or 460. I forget off the top of my head. But it's a beautiful, it's a big engine, but it's a small big engine. You know what I'm saying? So that's the biggest engine that I will say I like. I'm not into the big engines. Like, my friend loves, like, the stuff like the big boys and the Challengers and the, stuff like that. Like, I'm not into those. I like the smaller engines, generally speaking. Strasbourg says, back with tea. Also, which do you rate better, Queen Victoria or the cruise ship Queen Elizabeth? Well, Queen Victoria is also a cruise ship, so... But if I had to choose... I'd probably choose the cruise ship Queen Elizabeth. Because I think that... See, Queen Victoria is built with that Art Deco style. Or am I confusing the two? One of those two. It's either Victoria or Elizabeth. I don't remember which one. They both have Art Deco style. But one of them looks really, fanciful Art Deco. Like, really fanciful. I don't like it. I like the one that looks more realistic. I think Queen Elizabeth is the one that has more realistic Art Deco. And Queen Victoria has the more fanciful stuff. Like there's this one room where there's staircases everywhere, and I'm like, I don't like the way that looks. That looks a little bit too funky to me. I think that one is Victoria. So, yeah. Madeline says, just popped in after a nap. My eyes are still a little sleepy and blurry, so for a split second, I thought the train chugging past behind you was a massive snake. Yes! I have all kinds of reptiles here in the reptile room. You know what's funny? I'm not afraid of snakes. I'm afraid of what they'll do to me. So, I don't like snakes that will bite or anything like that. But I'm not generally afraid of them, actually. I love all kinds of lizards and reptiles. One of my favorite reptiles to look at is iguanas, green iguanas. They're beautiful reptiles. But I've heard so many stories of people getting mauled by their iguanas. I'm just like, ooh, I don't want to deal with that. But when I was a kid, my mom had this friend who had an iguana named Elvis. And she couldn't keep Elvis in a cage because he would hit his head against the cage constantly because he didn't like being in there. So to prevent him from hurting himself, Elvis became a walk-around iguana. He had an area that he did his business, but otherwise he was allowed to be anywhere in the house he wanted. And he was a cool iguana, you know, like he'd be sitting on the backrest of a couch just sunning himself in the light, and you know, and he was a cool iguana. But I've heard so many scary stories. Like even now, like as a kid, I'm like, I can't even believe I sat next to that iguana. Like, you know, it's lucky that that was a very cool, calm iguana. But yeah. Back to ocean liners and ships. Let's see. S. Karthik says, which one would you prefer? A cruise ship with few ocean liner features, or an ocean liner with few cruise ship features? I would prefer an ocean liner with a few cruise ship features. That sounds to me most like Queen Mary 2. Queen Mary 2 sounds like a very good ship, honestly. Like, it sounds very comfortable. I would prefer to be on an ocean liner because I always have this fear that if I ever go on a ship, I'm going to be stuck in a storm and then we're all going to die. Like, I have that's one of my biggest fears. When my friend was like, hey, we should go on the Queen Mary 2, I was like, that sounds great, but I'm so afraid of dying on the open ocean. Like, my biggest fear is, like, drowning. But, you know, I know that is such a slim chance of happening. But I would feel safer being on an ocean liner because I know ocean liners like the Queen Mary 2 are designed for that weather. They're designed to hold it. So I would feel safer being on a cruise ship. And if it had ocean liner features, you know, like stuff inside or whatever that makes it more fun or something like that, I think I would like that. So, oh man, this Scottish shortbread is so good. Like I said, I made it yesterday. I saved some for my sister. Delivered it to her this morning. But so good. Tyler says that is the Grand Lobby on Queen Victoria. Okay, so then Queen Victoria is the one I don't like. Because Queen Victoria, that ship looks a little too fanciful. Not fancy, just fanciful. Like it's something out of like a storybook. It just doesn't look realistic. Queen Elizabeth looks more realistic. Gabe says, I would call Queen Victoria an ocean liner, to be honest, since she has a black hole just like the older liners did. But yeah, but so does Queen Elizabeth and Queen Anne. Queen Elizabeth and Queen Anne, they're also cruise ships with black holes. That doesn't make them an ocean liner. What makes a ship an ocean liner? Well, I just did a video on it the other day, so you can see the video. But there's a huge difference between that, and it's not the paint color. What would happen if they decided to ban airlines and bring back ocean liners? What would happen to the world, and how would that affect air travel? Well, if they banned air travel, then there wouldn't be any air travel. But I imagine that people would be more frustrated because there are certain jobs that require people to travel at a minute's notice, and those kind of jobs would no longer exist. I think actually, believe it or not, our economy would experience a major shock. The world economy, not just ours in the United States, but the world economy would have a major shock from airlines being banned all of a sudden. True, ocean liners would come back to replace that role, but ocean liners, no matter what, cannot reach the same speeds as an airplane. So certain jobs would be affected majorly. Some jobs would cease to exist. it would have a major effect on the economy. I can't even begin to fathom how bad it would be, but it would be bad. We do need airplanes. We really do. I think what we need is we need a certain balance. And what it is people who need to get somewhere fast should be able to take planes. People who are not in a hurry should be able to easily purchase a space on an ocean liner. You know, like, part of the reason why ocean liners aren't back yet is because they would be very expensive. There has to be at least a less expensive way, you know. Octarian wonders if White Star Line would ever return. I don't think so, because Cunard still owns White Star Line, and Cunard is Cunard. That's their company. They have no reason to ever sell White Star Line to anybody. And even then, if someone said, we'll pay you millions and millions and millions of dollars to purchase White Star Line, Cunard would still say no, because Cunard doesn't want to give people the opportunity to start a business against them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, if you offer, you know, the best taxi service in the city, are you gonna tell someone else who wants to be a taxi service, like, oh yeah, here's part of my legacy, here, let me sell it to you? Like, no, you don't want them to compete against you with something you just owned, you know? So that might be a really bad example, but it'd be like, yeah, I don't know a good example to compare that to, but yeah, I don't see Cunard ever selling White Star Line, and so therefore I don't see White Star Line ever coming back. What do you think about the Costa Concordia case? It was terrible. I remember when it happened, everybody was in shock, you know, because we didn't think that could happen in this day and age. You know, I remember even that was being said on the news at that time was you didn't imagine something like that could happen in the modern age. It didn't need to happen either. It's not like there was a failure of radar or there was a failure of GPS. It was this dumb mistake made by the captain of the ship. So, yeah, it's really sad that what happened. I take that very seriously. I don't think it's a joke. I don't think it's funny. You know, there are some people who are making jokes about what happened and whatever, but I can't. To me, that's just as tragic as what happened to Titanic, you know, and even today I don't laugh at Titanic jokes, you know, like it's really sad, but the Cunard White Star Line says, I like the model trains running in the background. Looks nice with it set up. Thanks. Yeah, I love these trains. Makes me so happy to see them. You know, I haven't ran them in 2 years. You know, I didn't have the space or the time to work on them. So it was all sitting in a garage for 2 years. And I was really worried about how the weather would affect them because the garage isn't heated. It's not air conditioned or in any way. And we get cold, icy winters here. And we get, you know, warm, humid summers. So I wasn't sure how the weather would affect the trains being outside. I couldn't keep them inside. So they were thankfully put all up in boxes and stuff. So they were protected from the weather mostly. And it doesn't look like there's been any problems. There's no issues with the plastic, no warping of anything. It looks good. It looks like it weathered it all very well. I can't wait to work more on the landscape so it looks more beautiful, you know. I want to be able to show you guys what this thing will look like, you know, but it'll never be finished. Anybody who builds model railroads knows what I'm talking about, but you never finish your model railroad. It's always being worked on. Something's always being changed and altered. And that's probably what's going to happen with this one too. I'll probably get it to look a certain way, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, I need it to change and do something else with it. And even right now, I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, I don't have nearly enough spur line tracks. I don't have enough switch tracks leading off to other places. And it's funny because at the moment I can't even imagine where I would put that extra track if I put one in. But I know that I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, I need more, you know, I need more tracks. So yeah, but I love this little train. I put so much of my effort into it, restoring it and all that stuff. Interesting. I thought I repaired that. Junior Reagan says, looking forward to more of your productions, Alex, like your variety and balance in your works. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm trying to deliver like a little bit of, you know, like just diversity when it comes to the different topics and subjects and the way that they're presented. I kind of like the balance that I have right now. I like that I have these tea times for people who just want to relax and chit chat, you know, because even then, like we do talk about history on this tea time, you know. If people ask me stuff about you know, trains, ocean liners, and all that stuff, we can talk about all that stuff here. And then, of course, you know, on Tuesdays I have the like opinion pieces, so the videos where I kind of discuss things more in detail and share my thoughts on it, you know. And then Fridays are the history videos that are actually like fully edited together and all that. Saturdays being live streams about the Queen Mary, you know, and Queen Elizabeth. If we'll eventually get to Queen Elizabeth on a live stream. So yeah, I kind of like the setup, you know. So I think it'll be good. Adventures of the Stone says, tons of iguanas here in Florida. Long nails, you can hear them running around kind of crazy. Yeah. Matthew says, what do you prefer, Disney cruise ships or Cunard cruise ships? Cunard cruise ships. I prefer them over any other cruise line. Because they just look more classic. Except for Queen Anne. I don't like Queen Anne. Let's see. Adventure of the Stone says, okay, we need a video of your snacks. Maybe you could do a short video on how you make those yummy sandwiches that you're always eating. You know what's funny is I've already filmed all that. I've filmed it, but I just haven't put it into a video. Like, I haven't published it in a video because I haven't had the time. So I have the footage sitting on my computer of me making the sandwiches, of me making the Scottish shortbread and all that, but I haven't had the time to put it together into a video because I spend all my time making stuff for the Alex the Historian channel. But eventually, if I do get around to editing those videos together, it'll go on my Alex Adner channel. So the Alex Adner channel will have all the stuff, including the updates to the railroad. So that's where you'll see how I construct and update the railroad. And then you'll see how I cook the stuff for the tea times and other things in the future. Oh. Ozzy says, Alex, you do sound awesome. Thank you. Mark says, Queen Elizabeth is more Art Deco classic of the two. She is gorgeous and also has a lot of Cunard artifacts, including QE2 ship's bell outside the Commodore Club. Yeah, I've heard of that too. S. Karthik says, why do Disney ships look a bit like ocean liners? I have always wondered why didn't they take Queen Mary in? She would suit the fleet very well. And if I were in Disney's place, I would keep Queen Mary as my flagship. Well, Queen Mary is under contract to never sail again. Cunard made sure that was a stipulation upon the Queen Mary being sold to Long Beach, was that nobody in the future can sail the Queen Mary again. So even if Disney wanted to, they couldn't have done it. It's a legal impossibility, and it's also logistically infeasible, because the Queen Mary... I don't want to go through this again, but let me just put it this way, and please trust me when I say this. It is almost impossible to refurbish the Queen Mary to sailing condition again. It's just almost impossible. I would explain it, but I feel like I've explained it like 100 times, and every time I spend like 20 minutes explaining it. So I don't want. I'll make a video eventually about it, though. I'll make a video explaining that, like why the Queen Mary can't sail again. In fact, I think I already filmed one. I just haven't put it out yet. Yeah. But yeah, just take my word for it. You can't refurbish the Queen Mary to sailing condition. But yes, Disney cruise ships look like ocean liners because that's what Disney wanted. When Disney started off their cruise line, they said, we need to create ships that look like ocean liners. We want that classic look. So the Disney... What was it? Disney Wonder? Was it? The first Disney cruise ship. I forget what the name of the first Disney cruise ship was, but the first Disney cruise ship, which is still around today, I think it's Disney Wonder, is the one that looks most like an ocean liner. So... Levin, I don't know what blood drawns are. 3713 says, hi Alex, great to see the train set running. Thanks, yeah, I love it. It's great. It's fun to... You'll see that like when I do these live streams, I'm always turning around and staring at it because it's just so fun, you know. Goofy Roll says, go 3D in your layout. Go 3D? I don't know what you mean. M. Brocky says, can you still find the anchor room of the Queen Mary today? The anchor room? There's a chain locker, but you don't keep anchors in a room. Unless you're talking about the one anchor that they brought into the museum of the ship. That one is still in there. So... they have the spare anchor for the Queen Mary is kept inside the ship's museum, which is on F deck. No, E deck. I'm sorry, E deck. Yeah, E deck. But that wasn't there when it was sailing. All anchors are kept outside of the ship during sailing. So there is no anchor room, but there is an anchor chain locker, and that locker is still there. Let's see. Jeffrey says, did you take down the Sunday tea time? I went back to listen and couldn't find it. Yes, I did take it down. The reason why is because I was very tired that Sunday, and so I had this like monotone look and voice the entire time. And so I was rewatching it and I didn't want people to think I was like in a bad mood. So I was like, you know what, this doesn't look good. I'm going to take it down. So I took it down because I was just really tired. Like I hadn't gotten any sleep. And so I was just sitting there. I was like, like reading everything. I didn't want people to think I was in a bad mood. So I took it down. But, yeah. Gabe, I don't cover, like tornadoes and stuff on my channel. My channel's mostly just, like, old history, you know, I like to say steam travel is kind of what I cover on my channel. And then occasionally I cover like engineering and architecture. That is history related engineering and architecture. So I don't do anything modern, you know. Matthew Mahoney says video idea differences between Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth. That's a good one. I like that one. Let's see. So, says, I'll go to sleep. Good night. All right. Good night to you. Whenever I say your username, it's just, it's HMM. And so it's hard for me because I if I say good night, I don't want everyone to think that I'm leaving at the moment. So I'm like, trying to say, Cunard White Starline says that Queen Mary had too much removed from her. Is that a good, simple answer? No, it's not, because you see, actually, that makes it better. Because when you remove the old boiler systems from the ship and the old engines, that makes it better, because they would have had to remove that stuff anyway. The problem, again, I don't want to go into it, because I'm going to be here for like 20 more minutes explaining it. The problem is really just trying to bring the ship up to code. You know, honestly, like, there are maritime codes that dictate what makes ships safe, not just at sea, but for people who are walking around inside of it. So to bring the Queen Mary up to the modern codes, which she would have to be to get her to sail again, she would be completely unrecognizable. They would have to, if they wanted to go through with it, which it would cost hundreds of millions, way past more than what she would cost right now just for basic restoration. She wouldn't look anything like she would. She would look like a cruise ship by the time they were done. You would look at it and you wouldn't even know it was the Queen Mary. That's basically why. So, the Queen Mary can never sail again for both legal and logistical reasons. So, Element says, is the Queen Elizabeth wreck still there? No, they completely scrapped her. The Japanese Navy scrapped her in the early 70s. So there's nothing left there. And the reason why there's nothing left is because that's a major entrance into the port. So they couldn't have anything at the bottom in the way, because the ships go right through there. So she had to be completely removed. Everything was taken off the floor of the bay. Matthew says Disney Magic is the first. Okay, so Disney Magic is the first. Thomas says, Alex, on your trip, are you going to look around Nomadic? Yeah, I really want to, actually, because I'm really excited about that, because the Nomadic is like the closest you can get to Titanic, honestly. So, yeah, I do plan to look around Nomadic, film it, especially, to make videos about it. So, yeah. We'll see how that goes. I need to do a Kickstarter in order to afford that, because the whole trip won't be a vacation. It'll be for filming. So I'll be going to the UK to film everything for the channel. So I'll be going to all kinds of museums and historic places and try to capture as much footage as I can for the channel. So, but in order to do that, I can't afford it on my own. So I'm going to start up a Kickstarter soon, and then I'll create a video talking about everything I want to do on that trip, all the stuff I've planned out with my friend, and how you can donate to that if you want to, because that'll help me to afford it. So, Levan says blood draws are when the doctor needs to check something by examining your blood. Oh, that okay. Well, let's keep the conversation about stuff that is on my channel, because I can't just go off and start talking about all kinds of things like getting your blood drawn. Like, you know, people are here to learn about trains and ocean liners and architecture and talk about tea and, you know, and British, you know, biscuits and stuff. So M. Brocky says, can you find the entrance to the crow's nest on Queen Mary today? It's there, but it's not accessible because, well, obviously, they don't want people to just climb up there willy-nilly. It's not safe. So they keep it blocked off so you can't get to it. But it still exists, yeah. Gabe, yes, that does sound like a good name. Alex White says, will you ever do U.S. naval history, like World War II battleships? I don't imagine I would anytime soon. Normally I would say no, but it just seems like whenever I tell somebody I'm not going to do something, I end up doing it anyway. So, but I will say that at the moment I don't have any plans for that. I don't see that in the near future. So, the reason why is because the people who are into Navy history are very specific about what they like to watch. People would not want to watch my style of video making. I noticed that people who watch Navy history, they don't like story. They just want the straight facts. Just give them the facts and give them the dates. They don't want to hear stories. And so that's the thing is my channel, all I do is tell stories. Like I tell history in a storytelling format. And that makes a lot of people angry, believe it or not. There's a lot of people who hate my channel because I write the history into a story. So, funny enough, you would think that wouldn't bother people, but it does. But yeah, so the Navy people, the people who like to learn about military ships, they don't like the kind of style I do. So, yeah. Let's see. Mikey. Yeah, Mikey, I was trying to avoid telling them that it was on B deck because I didn't want anybody to try to go to B deck and try to climb up the crow's nest because that would be terrible. I know there's people out there who will try to sneak around the ship and do that, so I was avoiding telling them that, but yeah. It is on B deck. Cunard White Starling says, here in Australia we have just had the SS John Oxley refloated for the first time in 25 years. She is the last Australian coastal steamer left. Oh, that's interesting. I think you were telling me about that in the last live stream. Oh yeah, Titanic. It's funny because a lot of people, they think Titanic is still the biggest ship ever built. And it's funny because, like, if you look at it, you can tell it isn't just by looking at it because you can count how many decks there are on it. And you can see, like, above the waterline, there's what, 3, 4, 5, 6 decks above the waterline. But you look at a modern cruise ship and you can definitely tell that there's like 14 decks above the waterline. So that alone should tell most people that the Titanic is not anywhere close to the largest ship anymore. But there are some people who still think it's the largest ship ever built. And, yeah, that's funny. But yeah, by today's standards, Titanic is relatively small. Still huge, though. I mean, obviously, if it was still around for us to walk around, it's huge. But compared to other ships, not really. Let's see. Hello, Matthew Conway. Good to see you. Although you joined right at the last minute, I'm about to end the live stream. Yeah, Element, I agree. Modern cruise ships are pretty ugly. I don't like cruise ships. Goofy Roll says, by 3D I mean add valleys, mountains, and tunnels, and lake waterfall be nice too. Oh yeah, I have all that already. You want to see? I might as well, because the live stream is pretty much done, so I'm going to show you guys. I'll point the speaker that way. So you'll see the train is running along a river. So it's crossing over a bridge. And, sorry, I'm like tripping over everything here. And if I bring the camera here, you can see it's crossing over the river there. And, uh-oh. Alright, sorry. My audio went out because I tripped and stumbled over the cord for the microphone. Okay, back to what I was saying. So you can see there's an area here where I was building up mountains. That's not completed yet. It's going to be a tall mountain like right here, and the train crosses over it. So it's a nice big thing, and so you can see the train following the river. So yeah. Jeez. Should I have that correct? So yeah, so there's already like a lot of like texture and stuff. So it's yeah, believe me. It's just from this angle it looks flat. But it's not, and there will be hills and stuff that I haven't even built yet here. So there'll be hills and everything. There's going to be buildings everywhere. There's going to be like boulders, rocks, giant trees, and you know, all that. I just haven't completed it yet, so it's just it takes years to do it. Like don't expect this layout to be finished anytime soon, because it takes years to do that kind of thing. Some steps are faster than others, you know. Landscaping can go pretty quick depending on how, like, what you're doing and how much of it you're doing and all that stuff. So yeah, so again, I filmed a video of this, so I should be able to put that up sometime soon on my Alex Adner channel. So if you want to see updates on the railroad, the most recent one being the fixes I made to the bridges, getting the thing repowered again, replacing the couplers, all that will be on the next update, which will be on the Alex Adner channel. And the link for that channel is in the description below. Yeah. So anyway, let's see. Today is Wednesday, so Friday is my Rolling Mary video. Yeah, Friday's my Rolling Mary video coming out. It's got all new stuff in it, so there's extra scenes added to it, more information about the Queen Mary, and it's been completely re-narrated. I'm actually working on the narration today. And so yeah, wait for the Rolling Mary video to come out this Friday. Saturday is the live stream. You can already click to get notified of it. The live stream is about the Queen Mary's abandoned cargo holds, so look out for that. let's see. Sunday is the next tea time. So that is what's going on the next couple of days. Mikey, yeah, I know about that that layout. I used to talk with him. I forget his name, but yeah, I used to talk with him and stuff. So yeah, really cool. Anyway, I'm gonna go now. So I want to thank you guys all for watching. It's been really awesome having you here and being able to talk to everybody and just hang out. So yeah. Sorry, just reading somebody's comments. They're confusing me. Anyway, but thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.